Hello and welcome back to another Tier List Tuesday. Today I am doing a tier ranking tier list maker. Now, I think today's episode is going to be particularly interesting because, it's going to be more of a discussion of like different tiers that you usually see in the videos. And so in that sense, I think it's going to be maybe more all-encompassing as far as the tier list rankings go for Tier List Tuesday. And maybe it'll set a precedent for the tier list going forward on, which tiers I actually value most of all. I don't know. I just think it could be an interesting discussion. So this one is by Fru Caleb. And the music is suspenseful study music, epic intense music for exams and studying. As always, I will have the tier list down in the description for you to peruse and complete at your own leisure. Without further ado, let's get started. Let's just go ahead and start with the beginning. So first we have C. Now, instinctually, I kind of want to put C in C tier, right? Because C is generally pretty average. It's not necessarily bad per se, depending on what their tiers are available. Like, for example, in a tier list like this one where C is in the middle, it's about average. If C is lower to the bottom, maybe it's one that is only like S, A, B, C, D, then yeah, C might be like, I'm not really a huge fan, but I'm okay with it, right? I think to me that's kind of what it encapsulates, and so I think C is where it belongs. Now, E tier is interesting because it's not one that you really think about often. E, at least where I'm from, the United States of America, we don't have E as a letter grade in our school system, but we have A, B, C, D, and F. And so those are easier to kind of comprehend, as well as S. S is like, yeah, this is above A, typically speaking, and so E is interesting. You don't really think about it much, but I think in general, it probably belongs in E tier, right? It's between D and F for me, where it's like, this is on the lower end of tiers. It's pretty hard to get below E, actually. It's really only F tier, and so E is like, yeah, this thing does not work for me. Next up, we have S, which is actually pretty exciting. So I would say that S tier, also I'm realizing the music is kind of loud, so let me turn it down a little bit on my end. S tier, I mean, like, I feel like it's pretty uncontroversial. It's going to be at the top, right? Like, S tier is the cream of the crop. It's the best. I kind of alluded to it earlier. S is going to be above A, and A is usually near the top. It's hard to get better than S, probably like SS or triple S. Maybe Z tier. Some people call Z tier above S. Depending on your tier list, Z might be at the bottom. Just kind of, you got to feel it out. It's, your own opinion, your own take on it. But I think generally speaking, S is going to be at the top of any tier list. Next up, we have A tier. For me, right below S, right? Like, letter grade system, A is pretty much the best you can get. Obviously, A plus, technically speaking, in some cases, you can get A plus. It's better, but like, S is where you want to be. If you can't be S, you'd rather be A. Simple as that. Next, we have D. Now, D, it's one that shows up in most tier lists. You don't always get an F tier. In all tier lists, D is usually there, and usually when it's there, it's at the bottom. So I tend to value D much lower on the totem pole than the rest of the tiers for that reason, where, I never see something and I never give it a D rating and I feel excited about it, right? I'm like, I like this thing, D tier. Like, no, I don't like this thing, D tier, right? That's usually how I feel, and so I think I'm going to go ahead and put that in D. B. B is kind of in a similar spot for me as C, but I think I'll put it in B tier on its own just to give it a little bit more diversity for this tier list. A bigger spread, I guess you could say. B is typically, for me, B is like above average. Like, it's like a 7, a 6 or a 7. It's good, it's cool, but, it's definitely not my favorite, right? B's like mid to high, mid-high, right? In between high is like A, mid is C, B is like mid-high. It's fine. It's nothing amazing though. And last, I mean, this one's pretty easy. It's F tier, right? Like F has got to be F tier. It's easily the worst. You never ever put something in F tier and think anything better of it than like, this is trash, this is poo-poo, this is straight doggy doo-doo. In fact, you know, most of the time F doesn't even make it on the tier list because it's that low, or like sometimes you might only have like 1 or 2 things in F tier on a tier list ever, because that's how low it is, right? Like it's hard to find something that belongs in F tier because that's how bad it is. But F tier is a perfect example, I guess, of something that belongs in F tier. So yeah, that's gonna be it for me for today's Tier List Tuesday. A bit of a shorter one, but you know, I figured I'd give the people the content that they want and they need, and so I think this should be a pretty important tier list for framing the future of this series, and like which tiers are actually better, which tiers are actually worse, right? So yeah, that's gonna be it for me for today's video. Thank you all for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Hope you have a good day, good night, wherever you are in the world, and I hope to see you next time, where I'm going to be talking about more things that I have no idea about. Hope to see you all there. I'm out of here. Peace.